Hey guys, welcome to the party. We are the Weekend Rockstars, your weekly podcast for all the tips, tricks and licks you need for getting started in music. I am Scott Freeman, and with me as always is Billy, thinking about getting off social media, Deadman.
Howdy, Scott. Howdy.
Howdy. Billy, this is our 10th podcast.
Yeah,
milestone. How do you feel about it being our 10th podcast?
honestly, I was thinking about it today. I was like, we made it to 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Which is honestly way more surprising, than, I don't know, I wasn't expecting us to have this level of commitment to it, you know? I thought we'd eventually, drop off, be like, we've gotten bored of this. But no, we kept to it. We've done 10 weeks, and it's been really good fun.
That's it. We've kept going. We're building up, and I feel like we're better at doing this now than we were when we started.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, our first one, we were a bit drunk because it was my birthday.
That facilitated things a little bit,
but
probably.
yeah, it kicked things off in style.
Yeah, I know 10's not like a massive number for the big old podcast. They're usually celebrating their 100th or 200th episode.
Yeah.
But, 10, go us.
Yeah.
Go us.
Go us. We'll get to those bigger numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I was just thinking when we saw, we've hit 10, I was thinking my 10th birthday, I saw the original Spider-Man movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw the original Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure.
On your 10th birthday?
I think it was. Wait, what year would that have been? That would have been 2002. No, I'm wrong. I was 11. I've had that in my head as a wrong fact.
It goes up to 11.
Days. Yeah, I can't remember what I did for my 10th birthday. But can you remember what you did for your 10th birthday?
Let me think. So it would have been 1997, December 9th.
Yeah.
1997. And I was possibly living in Ottershaw.
Okay.
And if my calculations are correct, I believe I got Tomb Raider on PS1.
Ooh!
Possibly. Or that might have been also when I was 11.
Okay. Cool, man. Oh, that's a whole other... Maybe when we hit 100, we'll do a podcast where we talk about the video games we played in the 90s.
Yeah.
Completely go off topic. Anywho, so, yeah, today we're going to be doing a special podcast to celebrate hitting number 10, and we're going to be doing our top 10 gigs that we've ever been to.
Top 10.
Top 10. So yeah, we wanted to do something special and share some of the gigs that we've been to, because I think, we talk about gigs a lot and about playing gigs, but I think going to gigs as well can be just as important in your journey as a musician. I think, it's entertainment, it's enjoyment, going to a big gig with huge sounds and seeing your favourite bands who you've listened to on your Spotify or your phone or whatever your CD you listen to music on these days, and then seeing them live, it's a big deal. But then you pick things up as a musician, you go, oh, I want to how they transition songs there, that's cool. Or how they came on stage, or you pick up all sorts of things, stagecraft, just by seeing your favourite bands live. So I'm sure we're gonna have lots of stories as we go along.
Hell yeah!
On our top 10. So we're gonna start off with some honourable mentions. I think we've got 3 each, haven't we?
We do.
Okay,
yeah.
so do you want to kick things off, Billy, with your honourable mentions?
I shall. I'm gonna kick things off with my honourable mention number 1. Which was a recent one last year, Tenacious D at Wembley Arena. Tenacious D are a band for me that very special to me, because I got into them in my teenage years in high school, around the time when Tribute came out and it's on the radio and everything.
Yeah.
And I learned I must have learned every song every word to every song.
Yeah.
On that first album, and every joke, and I was in love with them. I thought they were brilliant. But I never had the chance to see them live.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly, all of a sudden, my friend texts me and she's like, oh, so you want to go see Tenacious D tomorrow? Yeah. And I was like, yes, but how much is it? She's like, oh, I got a free ticket. I was like, what? So, brilliant. Got to go see him for free. And it was it's a really awesome gig, right? Because they did 2 sets in effect. They did the first set, which was the entire new album that had just come out, from start to finish, and then they played all the hits after that in the second set.
Mm-hmm.
And the first set was complete with all this video screens showing like clips from their YouTube series they did for the album.
Yeah.
So it's just really funny and really fun times. And yeah, who doesn't want to stand there singing tribute at top of your lungs with thousands of other people?
Yeah.
That was a real good time.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, who's next? Do you want to do your other two?
Yeah, okay. I'll do my other two, and then you do your three.
Yeah.
So then I would also say another one. Honorable mention goes to Oasis-ish.
Okay.
Who were a tribute band.
Okay.
Which is ropey, but I saw them at Glaston Budget, which is a gig I did once with right. And I'm only giving them this honourable mention because I've seen Oasis, the original Oasis. Sorry, my tongue's gone a little. I've seen the original Oasis, right, years before this, and then I saw Oasis-ish, and they were better than the real thing.
Wow.
They were legit better than the real thing. Sorry, Liam. Sorry, Noel.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you were just having a mood that day that I saw you. But yeah, the tribute band were more fun than you were.
Yeah.
And then my third honourable mention goes to the Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah.
And this was the time. This was the time that I saw them at Wembley Arena. Which would have been a brilliant gig had I not somehow fainted in the middle of the first song that they played.
Fainted?
Yeah, in the middle of the crowd, middle of the mosh, I fainted.
Yeah.
My head hits the floor. I get a black eye. People pulled me up. Luckily, otherwise I probably could have got crushed to death.
Yeah.
And yeah, I as soon as I hit the floor, I woke up again because obviously poof, fainted, knocked out, but straight up again. I got myself straight out of there, and I missed half the set while I was just trying to drink some water and get myself reacclimatized with what had just happened.
Oh man!
So I want to mention to that gig just because it's memorable for the time that I fainted.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Arctic Monkeys at Wembley Arena. That was to support their release of. I want to say it was the release of Suck It and See.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was the Suck It and See tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's actually, I mean, we're both big Arctic Monkeys fans. That's actually my least favourite album of theirs. But it's got my favourite songs on there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how that works.
No, yeah, it happens.
But anywho, cool. So my honourable mentions on here, I've got Clutch. Back in 2013, we went to see Clutch. That was a free ticket, which was awesome. I think I'd seen Clutch on Fever La Bam growing up, playing in Bam Margera's back garden. Because I used to watch that on MTV growing up, and that was my only experience of Clutch. And you were like, "You want to go see Clutch?" And I was like, "Why not?" And so I was just shocked by how good they were.
Oh, they're amazing.
They were really, really damn good. And I went home and just checked out the songs. The songs Earth Rocker and Gone Cold.
I love Earth Rocker.
Yeah, they're really just cool songs. Really cool kind of modern rock and roll. With just that guy's voice.
He's kind of like a rock and roll, heavy rock preacher almost in the way he performs as well.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a big beard, didn't he?
Oh, big bushy beard. They all got big bushy beards,
They all got big beards, yeah.
Yeah, and the mosh was crazy that night as well.
Yeah.
We weren't in the mosh though. We were
up high.
We were up high in the cheap seats, but it was good though.
Yeah. Then I've got Rage Against the Machine at Reading Festival 2008, which was a weird festival for me. I'll talk about it a bit more as we go on, because I was there alone and I was 17, and it was a very, very strange time. But I saw Rage on the first night, and they came out on stage, and there was strobe lighting going on, and they all came out in orange jumpsuits with bags over their heads, and then they grabbed their instruments and just jumped into Bomb Track, or I can't remember what they started with. All I can remember is jumping up and down and just going nuts. And eventually it got way too much for me, because it evolved into a mosh pit in the middle of the set. And we had to do, me and a bunch of other guys who were getting knocked down a lot in the pit, we did a conga line to the bar. and I got my one pint of the weekend because I was 17. That's the only time I got served. Yeah, never mind. But yeah, man, that was really fun. Again, that's an honourable mention, more so because of like the experience of just like being in the pit, and just that performance was just amazing.
And a mosh conga.
Mosh conga, yeah.
A monga.
Monga. So this next band, I don't know if you've actually heard of. It would be cool if you have. I'm not sure if we've ever talked about them. So they're not a big band. Okay. You know, they're a band that have played some big festivals and absolutely kick ass. They're called Brother and Bones. You ever heard of them?
Bones? No.
Brother and Bones.
Don't think so.
Yeah. So they're well, the singer at least is friends with Ben Howard. Remember him? He was kind of that folk artist towards the beginning of the decade, doing a few kind of cool songs out. Yeah. Anyway, so Brother and Bones are kind of not really like that. I mean, there's a little bit of folk to it, but like the guy leads with an acoustic, you know, with a full band behind him, which is very much an inspiration for me to get the Sex Whales. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, he makes it work, so I could make it work, you know. And every time we saw them, they were just going nuts live. Yeah. And the thing is, they had a drummer and a percussionist, you know, as part of the regular band, and so they just kicked ass. They were this kind of acoustic rock and roll, and just people went nuts at that gig. So we saw them all over the place, but I saw them at a place in Southampton called the Stage Door with my friends, and yeah, they've got a song which has a bass line on it that's very similar to that Bullet in the Head breakdown, but it kind of goes all over the map, and the bassist came out into the crowd like climbing on all the furniture, just getting in people's faces and just like just going nuts. And it was just it was such a cool experience, you know, one of those really small venues, super sweaty, you're stuck to the floor, just like the kind of gigs we want to be having all the time, essentially. Hell you know. So they're my honourable mention, my last honourable mention, so really loved seeing them. Cool. Billy, we're on to
the top 10.
The top 10. So we're going to go one at a time. Billy's going to start off, and let's go.
Okay, guys, right. So let's go all the way back, right, to the Big Day Out Festival on the Gold Coast in Australia. This must have been around 2007, January 2007, I believe. And they headline band that year. But for anyone who didn't know, Big Day Out Festival is a festival that travels. So it starts in New Zealand, then it goes to the Gold Coast, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, right?
Cool.
And it has the same lineup for the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's just one, as it says, Big Day Out. It was one whole. It's not like a multi-day festival. It's a one-day festival.
Yeah.
You turn up, you have a good time. And the headline band was the one and only Muse.
Wow.
And I'd never seen Muse before, and this was like, I guess it was a few years after they had obviously broke out. They broke out at the beginning of the 21st century, didn't they? So but this was just after they were riding the wave of what's the album Nights of Sidonia on it?
It's not Butterflies and
No,
Hurricanes.
Butterflies and Hurricanes.
That's one of the tracks, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's off the second album.
Black Holes and Revelations?
Yeah.
That's the name, isn't it?
Yeah,
Nights of Sidonia.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's it.
Yeah. So that album had just come out, obviously, I think the year before.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome gig. I managed to get right near the front, and it was quite a small stage comparatively to what they play now.
Yeah.
And so it was so awesome because then you get to that part in Nights of Sidonia where no one's gonna take us alive, and the words are flashing up really big on the screen.
Oh, cool.
And it was just awesome. That was a really memorable gig.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
That's my number 10.
They're like a modern day Queen, aren't they?
They really are.
Muse, you know. I've never seen them live, but I'd want to see them just for.
Yeah.
You know,
and you know what? Just after that, they finish, right, and I'm like blown away by this set. Basically the way it's set up is they got this main stage, and then they got the other main stage right next to it, so everyone was sort of like shuffle over to the other stage. And so just after they finished was Tool's turn to go on, and to be honest, Tool were blown out of the water. Like they were just like it just weren't exciting to watch after watching Muse. Like I like Muse, I like Tool, right?
Yeah, cool
and
band.
I was excited to see them as well, but I was like, this is boring compared to Muse. Like, I know that's sacrilegious to say, but they just were. They were dull. They just stood there playing the song, whereas Matt Bellamy's running around the stage doing, might as well be doing backflips. You know what I mean? Like it was, and doing the vocals and it was just a magic gig.
Okay,
That's my number 10.
Cool, man. Cool. My number 10 is Deep Purple. 2007 at Wembley Arena.
I did not know you'd seen Deep Purple. Cool.
I've seen Deep Purple, man. Yeah. They had a version of Thin Lizzy open, and then had Styx play after them, do with the spinning keyboard on a little Pinhead. They were really fun. But yeah, Deep Purple, they were cool. Me and my mate Harry, we went. He was the drummer of my band at the time, and my dad knew a guy who worked at Wembley Arena, and so he was able to score free tickets to shows there quite a lot. Yeah. So I was going to like a show at Wembley Arena like once a year for like quite a few years, which was really cool. And so Deep Purple, they were great. I mean, like I knew all the big songs, but everything in between was great as well. Yeah. But when you go to see Deep Purple, you're like, they're going to play Smoke on the Water, and it's going to be epic. Yeah. I was not prepared for how epic Smoke on the Water would be. Yeah. Literally, like halfway through the song, they just stop playing their instruments and just have everyone chanting Smoke on the Water over and over again. And not just for like a couple of bards, like we would do it at a gig or something. They kept it going for ages. Ages. It seemed like, are they going to get back on now? But you didn't want it to end because you're just part of this, like, almost spiritual moment. Yeah. Screaming, smoke out the water, fire in the sky, over and over again. And then you're like, when they come back in, it's just going to be euphoric. And it was. And I just got chills. It was just like, oh my words, like the power of music. I'm not a huge Deep Purple fan, but that gig made me a bigger fan than I was before. Yeah,
it's funny how that can happen sometimes.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, yeah, I was a big fan of that. Epic. Cool. What's your number 9, dude?
Number 9. So number 9 is The Cure. At the Brisbane Entertainment Centre. Okay. So for listeners, obviously, my last one was in Australia. For listeners that don't know, I used to live in Australia. The Cure at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, and I got quite near the front for this one as well. And it was just a really awesome. I don't think they even had a support band, right? They just literally played for like 3 hours, right? And I swear there was a moment where Robert Smith and we locked eyes. I know he didn't really lock eyes. But it felt like I honestly we locked eyes. Yeah. And we're looking at each other, and I was like, man, if I was the other way inclined, because right now you're making love to me with sweet Cure music. And it was just fantastic. They just played all the hits, and it was such like a chill crowd as well. Like obviously it wasn't the sort of music you would mosh to or rock out to. Yeah. It was just like it was just really nice, chilled atmosphere, but also electric. It was weird. It was cool. Yeah. Like the Cure are. They're weird and cool. So
man, they are weird and cool. I'd love to see the Cure, man. That's they're almost a bucket list band for me. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, you got to see the Cure. Yeah. I did the typical teenager thing as well because I was a teenager at the time. I did my hair in a Robert Smith tangled way, and I also wore some black eye makeup as well, just because I'm going to see the Cure.
You gotta.
And then I bought. You know how at gigs you always got to buy a bit of merch if you got the money. Yeah. And I bought myself a long sleeve Cure T-shirt, which I still got. Doesn't really fit me very well anymore, but I'm going to keep that. Yeah, that thing forever.
Yeah, special memories.
Yeah, exactly. It's monumental.
Okay. This gig I'm about to talk about is it's a gig I got some merch at. Yeah. It was my first ever gig. Ooh. And it was a special gig. For several reasons. So this was, I believe it's 2004. Mm-hmm. So I would have been in year 8, and this was in the summer. So I was probably either 12 or 13 at the time. Yeah. And so I got to see Red Hot Chili Peppers at Hyde Park.
Oh, days. That's a band on my bucket list.
You've not seen them?
Never seen them live.
Oh, dude! Like once this virus malarkey's out of the way, and
we gotta go.
We gotta go, especially with Frusciante.
Exactly,
back,
especially with Frusciante.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So. Yeah, it was great, you know, and like it was also the first time I ever drank alcohol. Because I went with my dad, and like he bought me a Smirnoff Ice, and I got pissed on a quarter of the bottle, and I was just lying there on the grass and an Alco Pop. I feel sad admitting it, but it's true. And I can't remember the name of the first band on, but they were rubbish. But the support, they had James Brown. I've seen,
no way.
Yeah, they had James Brown.
You saw James Brown as well.
I saw James Brown, which was really cool. And James Brown was like one of the first artists like I've ever loved, and like, you know, with Chadwick Boseman passing recently, and you know him playing James Brown and
that was a good movie.
You know, watching that again and just re-falling in love with the music of James Brown, man. I just I just love it. Anyway,
he was a nutcase.
It was a nutcase.
Total nutcase.
Yeah, the film expresses that. You should check it out, man, if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix.
I think I have seen it.
Oh, yeah?
I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's a good one. It's very biopic-y. It's very paint by numbers, but it's still really fun.
Why not?
Like biopics are.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Chili Peppers coming out and playing, and they were just insane.
Yeah.
Insane, you know. Anthony Kiedis, I'm pretty sure he came out in like an all-white sort of like leisure suit with his super long hair, which shocked me because I was so used to watching the videos for like Can't Stop and Cepha Song and Californication.
Oh yeah, where he's got short hair.
Where he's got short hair, and he came out with long hair, like, you know, Blood Sugar Sex Magic era, and you're like, whoa! And they just absolutely just nailed it. They just absolutely killed it.
I think I've listened to that particular gig. I've got like the live album. I've listened to that quite a lot. Yeah,
man. When
epic gig.
When I went on tour of the Sex Whales back in 2015, it was the only album we had in the car, so we got to know that album really, really well, and it was just like reliving the gig over and over. So yeah, man. Love the Chili's, and yeah, that gig was awesome.
Damn right.
What's your number 8?
Number 8. So we're in the same venue as we were for number 9, the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, but this time I saw Eric Clapton for free as another freebie gig.
Oh, cool.
Because my friend's uncle's friend, or I don't know, someone got us free tickets.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like near the stage, but in the seats. So it was a seated gig actually, but we were like up to the side on these seats, but like in like a special VIP-ish kind of area. So we had a pretty decent view of the stage. And yeah, Eric Clapton, like, obviously he's not as good as he used to be, like as a guitarist, but he has some great songs, and he has like some of the most shit hot guitar players in his band. I think he had 3 other guitarists on stage.
Wow, okay.
One of which was Derek Trucks, who is amazing slide player.
Yeah.
And he also had this really amazing bass player. The whole band were just like, I mean, Eric Clapton, you can afford to basically get the best session gigging musicians money you can buy. And yeah, every player got like amazing solos on every song.
Yeah.
And they also did like a little section in the middle where they dropped it down to acoustic numbers, and like the whole venue was obviously a bit quiet while they're changing over, and you just hear someone yell out, "Clapton is God!" and you saw Clapton like react to that, and he's like, you know, I don't know why I'm motioning. People can't see me motioning. He sort of gave the thumbs up. It was a really nice night. It was really just awesome blues music, basically. Yeah. Really enjoyable.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Never seen Clapton, but yeah, I imagine he'd be really fun to see live. Okay, my number 8 is a band that you've already mentioned, and that is Tenacious D.
Ooh.
I saw Tenacious D at Reading Festival 2008. I mean, already that lineup was amazing when it was put up on the internet, and it just blew my mind. I was like, I could go see most of the bands I love all at once, and I'd never have to go to another gig again, because I'd have seen them all. But, you know, adding Tenacious D on top of that, just like, So yeah, I got to see Tenacious D. I can't remember which night it was. It might have been the last. I can't remember, but yeah, they were extraordinary, and I just remember going, just Jack Black being like, "Everybody's getting laid in Tent City tonight," and oh man, it just put such a huge smile on my face, you know. It was they were just incredible. You know, who doesn't love Tenacious D, man? You know, it's just like getting to scream out the lyrics to Tribute, and just not caring that I was just there by myself. It was just epic, man.
So if this was the last night, this was presumably after the tent explosion that you haven't told the audience about yet.
Oh well, we've got more.
Oh, we've got more
Reading mentions on here.
We'll come back to that.
So we'll come back to that. But yeah, so Tenacious D at my number 8.
Lovely. Okay, moving on to number 7. So we're going now to my first ever gig, which was in Brisbane. It was at a venue called The Rev, which was an old church that had been turned into a music venue.
Okay.
That's why it's called The Rev, you know, like the Reverend or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was for a post-hardcore punk band.
Okay.
Called From Autumn to Ashes. I don't know if you've ever heard of
I've heard of them, yeah.
It was literally one of those things where I'm picture the scene, right? I think I'm like 17 at the time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm 16. I started late when it comes to going to gigs, I'll admit. But I'm sat there on MSN at home.
Yeah.
And my friend David's like, "Oh, Billy, do you want to go see From Autumn to Ashes tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Cool, come up the city." So off I went. I went off on a pilgrimage to the city. He had already sorted out tickets, and we basically got there really early before anyone else had turned up. Even the band hadn't turned up. We were just sat outside like total mega fans, even though I wasn't like a mega fan of this particular band.
Yeah.
It was just like we're just chilling on the sidewalk basically. Anyway, the gig starts and the whole place just erupted with this, like, you know, post-hardcore punk energy of like just basically smashing the shit out of everyone around you.
Yeah.
So it was like,
awesome.
and also it was just like so loud in this tiny church that it was almost enough to make your ears bleed, I swear.
Yeah.
And obviously they were like ringing for days afterwards, but it's a special mention that gig because it was my first proper gig where I went on my own or with a friend, you know, and it was just a crazy time. It was one of those moments that reinforced for me that live music kicks ass.
Yeah.
And this is like something I just want to do, you know, be a part of the rest of my life, you know.
Yeah, man. There's nothing like it. Yeah. Okay. So my number 7, I forget the year, and I believe it was the Hammersmith Apollo. I may be wrong there, but I remember how awesome this show was. I saw Velvet Revolver, and it was shortly after their first album, Contraband, which is like up there as probably one of my favourite albums, and like was a huge influence on me for years. I wanted to be in Velvet Revolver. You know, I loved Scott Weiland's vocals and just the sound. You know, and Biffy Clyro supported them at that show. And this is, you know, pre-Puzzle Biffy Clyro. So they weren't a big deal yet.
No.
I did really love their song, My Recovery Injection, which is probably still my favourite Biffy song, although there's a lot of others up there with it. So this is before they were like really commercial. So they were like really kind of experimental and weird and heavy. And you never thought, that band's going to be like, you know, the Scottish Foo Fighters one day. But they became it, and so that was really fun. But then Velvet Revolver came on, and they were just this essence of just like, we are rock stars, just like filled the audience. Like, it was just, Slash was not that far away from me, and that's just weird. You know, I never get over that when you're like close to someone that you've just like idolized for years, and you're just like, oh my word. And like I remember like Fall to Pieces, which is the kind of big epic slow one. It's their Sweet Child of Mine on that album, and they played that, and like they pretty much kind of just jumped between song to song to song. You know, Scott Weiland didn't talk that much between, but then, you know, he got into that point and he like sat down, and like he was in like military garb or whatever, but it was all leather. He was like, this song, I guess it's about love and hate. This is fall to pieces. Yeah, it was so cool, man. I'd kill to see them again. Obviously, I can't because they're not a band because Scott Weiland's dead. But
you can still kill, but you won't see him.
Yeah, man. I'm just man. I'm so glad I did. Anywho, yeah, man. Who's your number 6?
Number 6 is Royal Blood at the Kingston. It's called the Hippodrome there.
I think so. Yeah.
So this was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had seen them before with yourself in Brighton. That was a brilliant night as well. But in that particular night, we were obviously up in the gods.
Yeah.
And I had trouble watching that gig that night because the lights were so bright.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it was like really
very bright. Yeah.
It was really bright. Anyway, this gig in Kingston, I somehow managed to secure I swear I got the last 3 tickets for this album launch show in this tiny venue in Kingston. So I took Donna and Matt from Fuzzwalker with me, and we went down to Kingston. We busked outside the venue while the first group of fans got to see the first set. And so in a way, we kind of supported Royal Blood. So that was a good time. But then obviously we get into the venue. And it's so small, it's so tightly packed in this like tiny venue, and when they finally come on to play, the whole place just erupts, and Donna just goes flying off in one direction because the crowd just takes her, Matt as well. So we get completely separated. Yeah, and you just had to just roll with it. Like it was just insane. Yeah. And I think towards the end, the drummer gets off the kit and starts like, he comes right up the front of the crowd, and he's like, just triumphantly like, yeah, like, the whole crowd was like, yeah. It was just so good. Yeah, what a great gig that was. So amazing. Yeah,
man. Okay, man. Well, they may appear on my list as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one up was a really special one for me, and it was a very last minute show. Because I mean, I earlier in the last decade, I sort of, I started developing problems with my leg, and later on my ankle, and so like standing up on the spot for ages was just really painful. So going to gigs was just tricky, when I had to kind of stand on the spot, So I just ended up not going to as many. That, and I played a lot of gigs,
Yeah.
So yeah, this one came up, and Tom was my mate Tom. He came and visited me in Winchester, and we were there in the week, and I was just on Facebook, and it popped up that Alien Ant Farm were playing at the Engine Rooms in Southampton, and this was the end of 2016. And Alien Ant Farm was a huge band for me growing up, because first it was Queen, when I was kind of like 9, and then I was like, I gotta write songs and play them to people. And then about a year or so later, I was like, I was watching cartoons or whatever, and it was like Fox Kids at the time, and they were playing music videos for some reason between like, reruns of Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they would have like Wheatus on sometimes, and then like other just pop punk bands like Blink and stuff. But then one week, Alien Ant Farm came on with Movies, the track Movies, just that single snare hit, boom, and they just go into it, and I just fell in love with the band instantly, and just over the years, got their albums, got the singles. I at college made a music video for one of their really obscure songs, and just about passed media with it, so I was proud of that. But then I'd never seen them live, and then this came up, and I said to Tom, I was like, dude, Alien Ant Farm are playing, let's go see them. So we popped down to the Engine Rooms, and they had some really cool bands playing. I'm trying to they had that band, what they called Head PE. They had that song Blackout, where we gotta get in, Blackout. Do you remember that one?
No.
No. It was like it played on Kerrang all the time. It was like this weird reggae new metal-ish kind of thing. It was very kind of like late 90s, early noughties, alt rock. Anyway, so they supported, and some other band I can't remember the name of, but they were kick-ass as well. But then an Alien Anthem came on, and it was just intense, and the whole set, we're just going mad, and my legs are just like absolutely killing me, and I'm just like, I'm almost buckling, and so just they're hurting so much, but I'm just like, I just need to get to movies and it will all be worth it. And they played movies, and I literally cried. I just had a really emotional reaction to it. It might have been all the pain I was in, but they played movies. I just was like, yes, and I went so mad. I screamed every word, and then like Dryden, the lead singer, was just like grabbing people's hands in the audience. So I reached out and grabbed his hands, and almost had that kind of Robert Smith experience where I looked into his eyes and I was just like, yeah, I just screamed in his face, and he just went, yeah, right back at me, and I was just like, oh, just absolute bliss, man. That's such a cool gig. It's definitely up there.
And did they do Smooth Criminal?
And they, of course, did Smooth Criminal. Yeah, they were doing an anniversary tour for the first album. But they played pretty much every track on that album. But then they did one single off the second album, These Days. Yeah. But they didn't do any others. It was quite interesting choice.
It's weird for them because like they were like massive, probably because of that Smooth Criminal cover, which kind of overshadowed how good they were for everything else.
Yes.
I had another friend of mine that was really big into them, and it was just, he was always adamant that like obviously Smooth Criminal kind of ruined it for them a bit.
It was kind of, it made them feel like a one-hit wonder. But then, like, if you listen to the second album, Truant, like, every song in that is just a single. It's just, every one of them are great. And then they kept making good stuff. But they just not as big as they were. But that room was, nearly filled. It was, like, halfway filled. It was a really, really long room. Yeah. So yeah, man. So that's my number 6. How about your number 5?
Number 5, we're getting a bit of double up happening here. We're going for the second time that I saw Muse.
Oh, okay.
And this was at Wembley Stadium.
Okay.
So we're going from a big, medium-sized festival to one of the biggest stadiums in the world for live music. And this was around the time that they had released what's the my bloody knowledge is,
what year was it?
It was obviously after Night Sidonia album. It was after I think it was the Black Holes and Revelation we established.
That was Night Sidonia, yeah.
What was the one where
there was the one with the wow now chugga. You know the.
Oh, you know what? I must like a right idiot right now.
If I sing it, or we'll get a copyright strike.
It's the one where they had like a really orchestral piece at the end of the whole album.
Yeah, the Resistance or
that
something
was it.
Like that.
Resistance. Yeah.
Something like that.
I feel like it was that one.
Was it called the Fifth Wave, or I don't know?
No.
Yeah.
They've had so many albums now.
Yeah. But anyway, so it was that one.
It was around that time, right? And it was just the sickest production for like. Muse are well known, obviously, for like their crazy production that they have, and every year they seem to top it.
Yeah.
But it blew my mind that year. Like they had massive flags. They had like this bit where Matt Bellamy comes out on the catwalk to the end, and then the catwalk like rises him up like on a big tower almost. He's doing his thing up there, and they had like these acrobats hanging from balloons that were just floating over the crowd during like the song Invincible and stuff like that. It was just insane, like production. So yeah, that gig will always stick out to me for like just how big can you go?
Yeah.
With
that big,
sort of thing. And also another memorable thing about that gig is obviously I went with a couple of friends, but I lost them pretty early on.
Yeah.
In the gig. I think they wanted to go sit down. I was like, sit down. I'm not sitting down during Muse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was this other woman right next to me who just kept getting annoyed that I was like standing like next to her, I think 'cause
Okay.
I wasn't even in her way or anything, but I think some people just get completely arsey at gigs.
Yeah.
She's one of those, and she kind of was pissing me off. But
Okay.
what can you do?
What can you
It
do?
was Muse. It was
Yes.
enjoyable.
Okay.
So that's my number 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Right, my number 5. We're going back to Reading Fest 2008. For the last band I saw at the show, which was the Last Shadow Puppets.
Whoa, that's one I want to see.
Yeah, man. And, I'm a big Alex Turner fanboy, but I know a lot of people, they love Arctic Monkeys, but really don't dig Last Shadow Puppets. I'm so not in that camp, but I so loved the Last Shadow Puppets. And when that album came out, I almost loved them more than the Arctic Monkeys. I just love his words. I loved the music. I loved I was so into the Doors at that time, and they were sort of like, had that kind of vibe. Yeah. Yeah, man. They just absolutely rocked, and they played all the B-sides. They just because they only had one album, and a bunch of covers, and you're just there, just singing every word, and like when you're like singing those words, you're singing like huge, like big words that you wouldn't usually like sing in songs, just because Alex Turner has such a massive vocabulary. So it's just, man, that was a really joyous experience. And that festival, I mean, let's see, do I have any more on here? No, this is my last Reading festival.
Oh yes, now we need to hear about the tent incident. So
I mentioned earlier in the podcast that I went to Reading Festival by myself. That wasn't my intention. I was supposed to be going with a bunch of college friends, but they were all the year ahead of me, and so they were going to university in September, and the festival was in August. So they decided last minute to sell their Reading Festival tickets, even though we bought them all as a group, and they were just like,
honestly, can't believe they decided that. Like, what total squares?
Yeah, really, really super lame. And they were just like,
are you still friends with any of them?
No.
This is not surprised.
This is probably why. But I was really good friends with them at the time, and I was so let down. It was just so disappointing. And like they were the ones who were supposed to be like buying the booze and everything, because they were all 18, 19. I'm just turned 17. And they were just like, oh, like you shouldn't go, like, we were bringing the tents and everything, like you'll be by yourself. And I was just like, screw that, Tenacious D are playing.
Exactly.
So, I was like, literally nearly every band I've ever wanted to see at that point are going to be playing, so I need to be there. And so screw it, I went to Tesco, bought the cheapest tent I could, and went along. And when I got to Reading Festival, I didn't really know where I was going. I got super lost, and I couldn't find anywhere to put up a tent. Finally, I found a tiny little patch of grass next to the footpath, but I didn't notice that on the other sides of the footpath were toilets with big iron doors that were, swinging all night. And like, I got a terrible sense of smell. I'm sure they probably smell as well as festival toilets do, but that wasn't what was bothering me. It was the first night, they were just slamming all night. I didn't sleep. So next day I go into Reading Town Centre. I buy myself some earplugs, and I'm just like, right, I'm going to sleep well tonight. And so Block Party and The Killers headlines the second night, and like I liked Block Party, but I wasn't a huge fan of theirs, but I watched as much as I could, but I was really tired because I hadn't slept the night before. I was like, I really want to watch The Killers, because like that first album meant a lot to me. Every time I think of The Killers, I think of driving to Pizza Hut with my mum and my brother, when I was like 12 or 13 and just blasting Jenny's a Friend of Mine out the window, with the smell of pepperoni. So I wanted to watch them, but they were playing mostly Sam's Town stuff, and he did something weird with his vocals on that album, and it didn't sound good, and he was singing all the other songs like that, and I was tired, and I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. So I sort of, went back to my tent with The Killers playing in the background, and I was like, I'll fall asleep to The Killers in the distance, it'll be fine. So I got in, I put my earplugs in, and I just started conking out straight away, and then what's that? And again, I got a terrible sense of smell, but I could smell this. It was a really horrid smell. I opened my eyes, and there's a flaming hole in the side of my tent.
Oh my days.
So I jump out my tent and I stamp out the fire, which has now left a huge gaping hole in the side of my tent, and I find right next to the tent is this raging fire with these two drunk Australians clutching Foster cans. Not helping the stereotype there.
No.
And they're like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And I was like, "Well, not great. You just burnt a hole in the side of my tent." And they're like, "Oh no, it's cool, man. Have a beer." I was like, "I don't want a beer. I want you to pay for my tent." And they're like, oh, "Okay, man, okay." And these guys are both like probably in their late 20s, and I'm like 17, so I'm bricking it. I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, this guy goes into his tent. I think he's getting his wallet. He comes out with a rocket, like a massive
How
firework.
did you get this rocket in there?
I don't know.
Madness.
I've been thinking about this night for like 12 years. Anyway, so this guy, he lights the rocket and aims it at the tent coast. "You better duck." So I jump in the footpath, knock a whole bunch of people down. I turn around to watch this rocket shoot into the tent. The tent that goes up into the air. No word of a lie. It went up into the air, exploded, and all my dairy milks rained down around me. And I spent 2 nights in a welfare centre.
Literally, your whole Reading Festival experience could be turned into some sort of movie, I swear, like some sort of comedy movie.
Yeah, I'll dramatise it one day. But, I stuck around,
You stuck with it, didn't you? You ended up in the welfare office and then...
Yeah, literally.
On.
It was, I went to the welfare centre after. And basically, if you don't know, if you're listening, what is a welfare centre? Basically, a festival, at least the real big ones. If you're too drunk or like too just stoned or whatever, you've done too many pills and you can't find your way back to your tent, so, the sort of team there will sort of take you to a welfare centre, and there's a bunch of roll mats and you can like sleep there overnight. And it's basically a whole bunch of people on roll mats rocking back and forth, shaking, all white because they've done too many yees. And there's me at the end of the line, white and shaking because I've just had a near-death experience. And the lady comes up to me, it's a really nice lady, and she's just like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "There's a rocket and a tent and dairy milks." And and she goes, okay dear. And then she goes over and another bloke goes, "What happened to him?" She goes, "I think he's had too much." Anywho, that's my number 5. Billy, we're on to 4.
Number 4.
Countdown.
So my number 4 is Glastonbury 09.
Ooh.
And the headline act on the Sunday, Blur. It was their first gig back after their massive hiatus.
Yeah, real long.
And it was just such a magic gig. Like the crowd was so ready for it, and they were like on fire. And I think like about halfway through the set, Damien kind of like got a bit emotional. He literally started crying on stage, like how moved he was by like the response from the crowd. And everyone's singing all the words of the song, but particularly what's that? I can't remember the words now.
Song 2?
No, not song 2.
Oh, I was just trying to figure out what it was you just sang to me, Billy. Not Park Life.
Not Park Life. Park Life was a banger. Song 2 was a banger.
There's No Other Way?
No.
I'm trying to
my people are going to listen to this.
It sounded like he was singing the special bass line from song 2.
He goes, "Oh my baby, oh my, oh my." Oh man,
I can't think. I love Blur as well.
People are going to think I have the worst music knowledge. It's not that. I'm just tired, guys.
Okay, they're well better than Oasis.
And I'm just, to be honest, I'm just rubbish with words. Like when it comes to music, I'm rubbish at remembering words.
Okay.
But yeah, Blur, they were brilliant.
Blur?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, man. Cool. I can respect that. Yeah, they're well better than Oasis.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Fight me. All right. Anyway, cool. Right. So my number 4 is Royal Blood's 2014 Brighton Dome, which we were both at, and was an epic gig. Yeah, we were up in the gods, but I never mind that. I just kind of like, wherever you are, whether you're in your pit, or the back of the crowd or in the gods, it's still an experience at a gig, and they just kicked ass from start to finish. There's no slow songs. songs in a Royal Blood set, really. You know, like they're just punching you in the face with sound.
Even if it's a slower groove, it's still heavy as. Like, yeah.
And there's something about them. Like, I think they've got a fairly like contemporary, like post Queens of the Stone Age, post Death from Above 1979 kind of sound. But there's something about some of their riffs that kind of make me think about like the 70s.
Yeah.
And it's when they started playing the opening riff to Figure It Out.
Yeah.
And like the drums come in, I just started headbanging. I felt like I was taken back in time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like seeing, I don't know, Zeppelin or Sabbath or something. There was just something of it, you know. Just a very special band in an era where just new original rock bands weren't really happening. And here was this band with an album, a debut album, with just like all killer, no filler.
Oh,
just absolutely just amazing. Way better than the second.
It's just
it's
just mental how much like how they could get that sound from just bass and drums.
It's insane. It's insane.
Also, I'll never forget that gig for obviously getting blinded by the lights, but also the way they walked on stage to the Home Alone Christmas song, because it was a Christmas gig. It was right before Christmas.
It was a Christmas gig, yeah.
It was also their hometown homecoming gig after becoming like mega famous.
Yeah.
So yeah, it came with that like that Home Alone. And so that was just really cool. And at the end, didn't one of them jump on the mosh, like jump in the crowd?
Yeah. The drummer ran around the ring. Essentially, I was like, if that guy falls, that's gonna hurt his nuts a lot, and he's not gonna be able to play drums anymore or procreate. But yeah, no, it was great, man. And the thing was, like, I was supposed to be at a wedding.
Oh yeah,
I remember this. I played at the the ceremony in the morning, and this was like for friends I'd had for quite a few years, and I felt so bad, but like I double booked it. Like I booked them first, and then you were like, oh, do you want to go see Royal Blood on this day? I was like, yeah, sure. And I think we might have been discussing it publicly, like on a post on Facebook rather than like private messaging, because my friend Lydia saw it and she messaged me and she was like, why have you agreed to go to a gig on the date of our wedding? I was like, oh crud. And so yeah, man, so I felt really bad afterwards, but then as soon as they launched into Figure It Out, I was like, no, I'd rather be here. So there we go, it's my number 4 epic gig.
Number 3, Scott. We're in the top 3 now.
Okay.
Foo Fighters, who I've seen twice.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the first time I saw them.
I'm so jealous.
At the Brisbane Entertainment Centre.
Okay.
And this was probably my first ever arena gig, as it were, right? And I managed to get in there. I got to the front of the barrier for the second barrier. So I wasn't in the front mosh, right?
Yeah.
But I was in the front of the barrier for the second mosh, as it were, right? And it was so cool, right? Because they were promoting In Your Honor album, and and the not their best album, obviously, but obviously, like there was a curtain surrounding the stage, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't see anything on the stage, right? And all of a sudden, the song, I think, does the album start with In Your Honor? I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it starts.
So that song starts playing while the curtain's still there, and obviously the crowd's going nuts because like we know they're on stage now.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like the curtain slowly. I can't remember if it slowly went up or if it suddenly just dropped when the song drops, but it was like suddenly there they are, right? And there's all these like garbage heap of amplifiers behind them, like this really cool set of like amplifier graveyard almost behind them.
Right, okay.
It was so cool. And then like it just didn't matter that I was at this second barrier because I was just like the music was loud, everyone's rocking, everyone's like I'm headbanging the whole way through this set, right? And then it got to Stacked Actors, right? And I guess that breakdown of Stacked Actors. And all of a sudden, Dave is off the stage. And I'm like, where the hell is Dave? Where's he gone, right?
Yeah.
Because he's off the stage. All of a sudden, he's right behind me on this platform that I didn't know was there in the middle of the second, like the back crowd almost, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, how cool is that? Like, he's managed to like make the people at the back feel involved because now he's right there on top of us.
That's so
and he's
cool.
there, and he starts doing like a call and response solo between him and the other guitarist. And it's just like
Chris.
going backwards. Chris, that's it, Chris. And they're going backwards and forwards, and it's just like, this is cool as fuck. And then he gets to the end of the set, and you're like, oh, they haven't played Monkey Wrench yet. They're going to play Monkey Wrench. Sure.
Yeah.
Obviously they do. And it's like, it's just such an awesome show. Like, it was one of those like rock gigs that you'll just never forget. It was so good. Okay. And better than the second time I saw him. I saw him again, like, just, was it last year or the year before? No, 2 years ago. And that was good, but I don't think it'll ever touch. The energy that night in Brisbane was just so much bigger, so much better. I don't know what it was. It was just like they were on fire that night.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of bands I'd like to see live, but like they are definitely like the only band left on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta see.
We gotta sort that out.
You gotta sort that out. Right, my number 3 was it was actually a festival I was playing at. This was 2010. I was in an acoustic duo called Moon Eyes with my friend Sophie, and we played one of the smaller tents, and I actually asked, I've probably told you this before, but I asked if we could finish our set 10 minutes early so I could go watch Milton Jones's set next door, because he was doing a comedy set right next to us, and I was such a big fan of him from Mock the Week. Anyway, so we stayed the whole weekend. We camped, which, like, camping after like the Reading Festival experience was never easy, you know, and but like I made it through because I was like, last night the Blockheads are playing, and that year Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll the movie come out, and I kind of vaguely knew that Reasons to Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick was like a song, but I'd never like properly listened to the band, and I went on a date early in 2010, and we saw the movie. And you know, for the duration of that relationship, like, that band's Ian the Blockheads was a big deal, and I bought the soundtrack to the movie, and I was doing a like gap year theatre thing at the time, where I had to drive like half an hour longer to get to the place in Woking where we were doing the theatre thing, and I just listened to that and the Band of Skulls first album, you know, which they might have been one of my honourable mentions, but I forgot. Anyway, so I was just such a huge fan of this band, and it made me fall in love with the saxophone as well. As you know, as an instrument, and so so getting to see them, you know, albeit without Ian Jury, because obviously, you know, passed away many years ago. The replacement guy they had on, you know, he wasn't trying to do an Ian Jury, but he was still kind of eccentric and fit in, and they still had the rest of the band, you know, playing, and they were just on fire. Just they played all my favourite songs, you know, and it was a special moment, you know, to like fall in love with a band, you know, early in the year, and then later on, you know, see them live and they just absolutely meet your expectations, you know. Obviously I would have loved to have seen them with Ian Jury, because like, what a performer, what a lyricist. But yeah, man, Guildfest 2010.
Nice. Right. So
number 2, eh?
Number 2. You know, while we've been doing this, I've thought of so many gigs that should have been in my top 10. Which is a problem. Maybe I'll have to do some more honourable mentions that I don't know. Anyway, number 2, the Arctic Monkeys at a venue called the Arena in Brisbane.
Ooh, okay.
This was the first time I saw the Arctic Monkeys, who I've seen many times.
Okay.
And this was to have been 2007. About them, right? So maybe it was 2006. I don't know. It was their first tour of Australia after they just become mega like famous off the back of the first album, right?
Whatever people say I am.
Yes,
that's what I'm not.
And I think basically the way I remember it is my uncle Paul. He messaged me saying, "Oh, I've got tickets to the Arctic Monkeys tonight. Do you want them? Because I can't go." So I was like, "Hell yeah!" So I got 3 tickets off him, and I was with my friend David, who I saw from Morton Ashes with, and we took this friend of his, I can't remember her name, But yeah, she's just some girl that came over. I'm going really in the weeds in the story. So anyway, we go to the gig, and the gig is amazing. We're right at the front for the gig, and I had another Robert Smith moment with Alex Turner. But most notably of all was the fact that when they walked on stage, the bass player wasn't the original bass player. It was new bass player Nick O'Malley.
Oh, yeah.
And I hadn't been told about this change of a lineup at all. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, where's the original bass player? I was like, maybe he's sick or something. I didn't understand what was going on because news didn't travel as fast back then. You know, like the internet wasn't as...
we weren't cyborgs then. We didn't have the internet at our fingertips.
Exactly.
24/7.
What went on Twitter wasn't even a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just like the craziest night because, like, first of all, they only had one album. So they literally played every song off that album and the B-sides, and that's all they had. They played everything they had. That was it. And then they got off the stage. Didn't even do an encore because they ran out of songs. And it was just electric. The whole crowd was singing all the songs back at them. And they were so young and so talented. And it just reinforced me that, man, this is what I want to do. Because I'm only like a year. I think I'm a year older or a year younger than Alex Turner. I think I'm a year younger than Alex Turner. I can't remember. It's one way or the other.
Yeah,
I'm a year difference in age, basically. Yeah. Anyways, the gig finishes, right? And I'm standing there with David and this girl, I can't remember her name.
I'm so glad you said the story.
Yeah. And we're standing there and we're like waiting for the crowd to, start leaving the venue so we could also leave because, when you're at the front, you're the last to leave, basically.
Yep.
And I noticed that the security at the front of the stage were telling some other girls at the front of the stage some information about where the after party was. And I was like, excuse me, what's this about an after party? And they're like, oh yeah, mate, it's at such and such down the road. So I was like, guys, we should try and get into the after party. And they're like, yeah, let's try and get in. I was like, we won't get in, but let's why not? Let's just try.
Yeah.
So we get out, we walk up the road, round a few blocks. We get to this hotel, whatever it was, and lo and behold, the security guard out the front of this was also a regular security guard at a Club 299, which is in the Valley in Brisbane.
Okay.
Or used to be there. And at the time, he was this regular security guard there that recognised me. I was like, oh mate, how you going? And I was like, yeah, can we come in to see the Arctic Monkeys? And he's like, yeah, come on in, mate. 'Cause obviously he knew me from there.
Yeah.
Just a friendly face. He knew I wasn't going to cause any trouble, so he's like, yeah, get in there. So obviously we get in there. We go upstairs. We go past the bar and we go straight into the roped off area. And we're just sitting there chilling. We're like, oh my god, we got into the after party of the Arctic Monkeys gig, and we sat there for quite a little while, just waiting for someone to turn up, and a few like Z-list celebrities had turned up from Australian TV and stuff like the host of Pop Idol and stuff like that had turned up, and we're like, oh god, what are these guys doing here snoozing? Anyway, suddenly the Arctic Monkeys turn up, right? So there's obviously Alex Turner's there, Nick O'Malley sat in the corner, and Alex is on his phone, right? And we're like, oh, we should say hello. And we sort of went to him, Alex. He looked up, and we waved at him. He waved back, and we're like, and then he just went back on his phone. Anyway, the night keeps going on, right? And by this point, the place is getting quite packed by this point, and we're getting some more drinks in, and really random thing happened. David and I were standing right near the bar, and we noticed that the barmaids and that were really busy, and he was like, he's like, do you reckon I can get that bottle of gin that's just sort of sat there? And I was like, nah. And he just grabbed it and then shoved it down his trousers. I was like, mate, I can't believe you just did that. Anyways, after that, we then got chatting to these really, really fit girls that were there, because obviously I'm guessing groupie culture was still a thing back then, because there was a lot of fit women there.
Yeah, awesome.
And they kept inviting me and David up to dance on this coffee table, and we got up on there and we're dancing on this coffee table, and the security came straight over and get off the coffee table, you get on there again, we're chucking you out. So we got off. I was like, cool, we won't get up on there again.
Okay.
What does David do? He gets up on the coffee table again, because the girls were allowed to dance on it, right? They invited him back up again. As soon as that happened, the security guards run over, grab us and start like dragging us out of there. I literally get dragged past Jamie, and I'm like, Jamie. I get dragged past. Literally, I'm as close to him as I am to this microphone. I'm looking in his eyes, like, Jamie. I get kicked out. We get kicked out. It's me, David, and this other girl. And I'm like, wow, it's literally like we were in an Arctic Monkeys song. And then I said, David, have you still got that bottle of gin? He's like, yeah, mate. Pulled it out of his trousers, and off we walked into the night. Yeah. What a night.
Wow.
Insane.
That's something, eh? Yeah. Wow, man. Oh, man, I wish one of my next ones had a story like that.
I guess I met Alex Turner. Kinda. Yeah. I waved at him. I interacted with him.
You interacted with Alex Turner. That's special.
Crazy.
That's crazy, man. Okay, right. Cool. My number 2 and number 1 could both be the kind of
I felt like they could both go either way.
They're neck and neck, but I chose my number 1 because it's more recent and I remember it more vividly because of that. But my number 2 is 2006 Medeski Stadium in Reading, and I saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers on the Stadium Arcadium tour. Yeah. It was a birthday present. Me and my mate Pete went. I was 15. Yeah, so it was epic, and we were like, the whole time we were there, we were both Uber fans, so we were both going back and forth like, I think they're going to play this song. No, I think they're going to play this. I think they're going to play this song. And I was like, oh, they're totally going to play Knock Me Down and Aeroplane, which I knew they wouldn't play because they're like 2 really old songs, but like 2 of my favourites. Yeah. And he was just like, nah, man, they're going to play Blood Sugar Sex Magic, the song. Yeah. And I was like, they're not going to play Blood Sugar Sex Magic, the song. But they totally did. They played Blood Sugar Sex Magic. I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind. I was just like,
that is such a tune.
It's such a tune. And they did do another old one. They did Me and My Friends.
Oh, I love that one.
Of Uplift Motor Party.
I love the bass line.
Yeah.
Me and My Friends.
Great bass line. Actually, when I was teaching Cameron how to play bass when we were living together, I taught him how to play the intro bass line, which is so cool. Yeah. Yeah, man. So they were just epic, and I like when I first saw them, it was like my first gig experience, and the whole thing was overwhelming. I was really drunk, and this one we were both 15. We couldn't get served at the bar, and like we didn't want to leave the main circle because we were just like, oh no, like we've got to like stay here, like it's just absolute gold. And they just stomped it. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of like the Stadium Arcadium album, mostly because of like the way it was kind of mixed and it was just overly compressed, but like live, those songs were amazing.
I always found that album to be like, with a lot of double albums, it's always like, well, you've just got a bit too much here.
Yeah. It's just they just repeated themselves. Like the melodies, like were repeating. Like he did the same melody in like 2 or 3 songs on that double album. And you're just listening. Like, I feel like I just heard this one 2 tracks ago. Yeah, But if they just taken it and condensed it down to 1 album,
it would have been brilliant.
Yeah, like take Tell Me Baby and Storm in a Teacup off of the red one, shove it on the first one and drag some of the fat off the first one, then like you got 1 really good album. Anyway, that's not the point. Point was it was a darn good gig, and like it was even better than Hyde Park, and it was just one of those shows that was just crazy. And I was just there with my mate, and that's that age where you're sort of like about to leave school and everything, and it was just like it was a cool moment, man. Yeah. But not as good as my number 1, which you can probably guess. But
I'm wondering whether we've got the same number 1.
I'm wondering whether we do.
Shall we say the venue at the same time?
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Royal Albert Hall.
Hey! The Arctic Monkeys at the Royal Albert Hall 2018.
Whoa!
Oh my days!
What a gig!
A show that was.
Oh man!
For one, the venue is somewhere I've always wanted to go to see a band. Yeah. Ever since I watched the Led Zeppelin DVD of when they played that venue, and to top that off, probably my favorite band of all time after Led Zeppelin is the Arctic Monkeys. Yeah. I remember like I put myself in the lottery system to get tickets for this gig because it was essentially a charity gig that they were doing before their main tour for the the Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino album tour.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, somehow I had been selected to buy tickets. I remember I don't think I even asked you. I bought 2 tickets. I was like, Scott, you're coming to this gig, right?
Yeah, man.
So
it was great.
and my God, what we got right to the front. So I felt like it was like full circle from that gig in Brisbane from a number 2.
Yeah.
Right. We're literally right at the front, at the barrier, in probably one of the best venues in London for a gig.
Yeah.
And they were just on top form. You could tell, like, having seen them myself, like back when they were young to now, like they have just mastered how to do a gig.
Yeah.
Totally mastered it. Yeah, it was just like insane. Like, and they played so many bangers.
They did. They played some really surprising ones. I mean, they busted out From the Ritz to the Rubble.
Yeah, that was the first time they played that in, like, I can't remember, it was like 6 years or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not that long, but it was some long time.
It was crazy, and it was the live debut of Star Treatment as well. And I remember it vividly because I sang every word and no one else around us was singing. Everyone just sang the Take It Easy for a Little While bit, but I sang every damn words, because that album, I love it.
I love going back. I love sometimes going on YouTube and finding fan filmed footage of that night and spotting us down the front.
Oh, you could? Did you see us down the front? Oh wow!
You can definitely see me because you can see my hat.
Yeah,
it's just a silhouette of a man with a hat, like a tall man with a hat. And I know you're right there with me, so that's where we were.
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, the funny thing was they started off with 4 Out of 5.
Yeah.
That show, which is a great opening track. I think it's very theatrical, and then they busted into Brainstorm, and so we were together for like the first track.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Brainstorm came on, it was like a whirlwind erupted in the middle of the Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
And I just got caught in it like a whirlpool, and I was just like, Billy! You were like
I didn't even move. I was like, I held on to the barrier.
Yeah.
There was like a girl in front of me, like a small girl in front of me, and like I just like had my arms almost around her, like holding onto the barrier, and you kept like coming back around to me. I was like, Scott, stay with me.
I was trying to like grab onto you or just something to pull myself out, but eventually I just embraced it. I was like, screw it, Brian.
Didn't we find out as well that Matt Smith was there that night?
Yeah, Matt Smith was there in like a hoodie somewhere.
Yeah,
just
you might have like brushed past him.
I could have punched him in the face when I hit someone accidentally.
Oh man!
But yeah, it was insane. It was just like it was such a really well put together set.
The lights and everything was top notch. The sound was top notch.
Yeah,
and being so like at the barriers, they weren't that far away because it's not a big venue. Like it's big, but it's not like ginormous, like stadium sized.
Yeah.
So it felt like literally Alex is probably only about as far away from me as you are now.
Yeah.
It was just awesome.
Yeah. And it's just, I've said it multiple times throughout this podcast, but there's something about like being in close proximity like that at a gig to like your idol. Like no artist I think has influenced me more probably than Alex Turner.
Yeah.
And to be that, I mean, like when I saw Last Shadow Puppets, I was really far away.
Yeah.
And it was still great, but like we were right up close. I just remember, what was it? It was 1 Point Perspective, I think they were playing, and that girl threw the bra up.
Oh,
and he did like the arm move, and he got caught.
Yeah,
yeah.
That was so cool.
He
had that like creepy goatee as well with the slick back hair.
Yeah. It was an interesting look.
Yeah.
He shaved his head shortly after.
Yeah, I saw him later that year. For the last time I saw them, that was at the O2 Arena.
Yeah,
and I was up in the gods for that night. But yeah, he had I think he had the shaved head for that night. Yeah. I mean, it was just immaculate. I mean, they didn't play a lot from Suck It and See on that tour. No,
because like I'd follow them on Setlist FM, and just as how much of a fan I was going like and looking at the stats and looking at they played more songs from AM this night, and I just followed it, and they played more songs from AM on that tour than they did Tranquility Base.
Yeah,
or any of the others.
I think it's because AM obviously came out before that album, and I think AM is still to this date their biggest selling album.
Probably, yeah.
And that's probably where they play a lot of those songs because they obviously gained way more fans from that album.
I think they're going to come back to that sound, I mean, like, I think Tranquility Base, like, you know, some people who are big fans weren't totally on board for it because it's a weird departure, but I think they'll come back to something slinky and...
Well, it's amazing how many lads are out there that still think that they should be playing the same sort of sound they made with the first 2 albums.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, where have you been? They've been reinventing themselves for every album since Humbug.
They are the David Bowie of, you know,
they totally are.
Of modern music. They're just incredible, and that gig was just, it was just everything I wanted. You know, I just got to sing my heart out on all these songs, and like, again, like singing every word on Star Treatment, and then just no one else around me singing it, and I was just like, ha, I'm the biggest fan here.
Yeah.
Okay, like, I know all the lyrics to this brand new album opener. Okay, so I felt very
album
smart.
was only out like what, a few weeks before?
Yeah.
Not even. I think.
Yeah, my housemate at the time. He was a huge Monkees fan as well. He had a ticket to see them at somewhere else around that time, and he just didn't go to the gig. And I was saying to him, I was like, dude, like, I will buy the ticket off of you. I would take it, but he just, I was like, nah. Like, I think he just wanted it some moment. It was weird. Anyway, that's interesting guy. But he got the early copy of it. That was like from vinyl, so someone had like ripped it off a final version of it. So I don't know what happened in the transfer, but every song was in a different key. So like, I don't know if there was some sort of modulation on it from the transfer. But yeah, like, everything had that kind of crackly final sounds and was like 2 semitones up.
That's weird.
And so I learned all the songs singing like that. So as soon as like I put like the CD in the car when I finally got it and started singing along, I was like, wait a sec, like, there's something wrong with this CD. All these songs are wrong tuning. Anywho, man, well, there you go. Same number 1 gig, man.
I love that we have the same number 1.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it was that good a gig.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to the end of the podcast. It's been quite a long one.
Yes.
But that's really cool. It's cool hearing about like your favourite gigs. There's some bands there I had no idea you'd seen, so that's interesting.
I thought of so many honourable mentions.
Robert
Plant in London was special.
Yeah.
And now my mind's gone blank on the others.
Yeah.
God damn my mind.
Yeah, man. I mean, I saw Patti Smith at the Shepherd's Bush Empire in 2008. That was cool.
Yeah.
I saw The Darkness and the I Believe a Thing called Love Tour, and he rode on stage on a giant white panther model. It was intense. Yeah.
Aerosmith I saw at Hard Rock Calling.
Cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was like a real Wayne's World type moment for me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I saw Motorhead in 2005, and I couldn't hear for 2 days afterwards. I got offered to go see Green Day. They were one of my favourite bands at the time, but I could barely hear my friend when he offered it to me. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't go. So
I saw Paul Weller one time in Brisbane.
Nice.
And he totally ignored the smoking ban and just smoked throughout the gig. He didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few honourable mentions there for sure.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
But whoa.
But yeah. Epic, man. Cool beans. Well, we have been the Weekend Rockstars. This has been our 10th podcast.
I think everyone should let us know if you have, any top gigs you've been to.
Yeah, please do. Let us know your top 10 gigs down in the comments below. We really appreciate it. And if you've been listening all the way from the start, then thank you for sticking around with us. We're going to keep going, keep pushing on. And if this is your first time with us, then you're very welcome. Please like, comment and subscribe on the channel, and stay tuned for more podcasts from the Weekend Rockstars. I'm Scott Freeman.
And I'm Billy Debman.
Awesome. Stay awesome. Peace.
Cheers, guys. Bye.